Welcome to Retro Upgrade. This time we'll be fixing a Samsung Galaxy Tab T805. It's my girlfriend's. We got it for free from my sister. It was completely destroyed. Let's try to fix it now. Okay, first thing I see is a chipped corner. It has the shell partially removed. It has a damaged USB port and the on-off button doesn't work at all. It's pushed in and it doesn't come out. Fortunately, the screen is fine. I've tested it out by shorting the on-off button from the inside with a pair of tweezers, and it turns on fine. Okay, let's start disassembling this. You'll need some kind of picks to open a shell like this without damaging the shell. It's already damaged, but I don't want to crack the screen by accident. A guitar pick works as good as these do. These are purpose made for this. As you can hear, they snap open quite nicely. Usually you start at the corner where the ports are, but because it was cracked on one side, I started from there. I'm just putting in between and just pushing with very little force. This side was stubborn, but it finally cracked open. I can just lift out the screen with all the electronics on. There are replacement shells, but they are quite expensive, 40 euros plus for an old tablet like this. It's probably not worth it. I'm just checking the button and it's fine. So the problem is on the main board side. Let's flip it over and see what we find. Okay, so I switched cameras here because the other one doesn't zoom in as much. Sorry for the awkward angles. The camera tripod for the phone broke. This is a 00 bit. Underneath here is the USB port. I've already taken this off and the recording of me trying to fix it is gone. I can't find it. It has a lot of stuff attached to it and it comes as a single unit. You can't change the USB port if you don't get your hands on a specific Samsung USB port. But I can show you the damage it had. So let's just disconnect the speaker. It has the SD card attached as well and disconnected from the main board. It's a flip tab, really easy to remove. Okay, so you can see here it has some connectors. On the other side is the pads for the USB port. You can see a lot of ripped pads. Someone just pushed it in and destroyed it. These are normal USB ports. As you shall see, it doesn't really fit. Here's a replacement ribbon with everything on it. It even comes with a little metal lid. Okay, so I'll zoom in here and show you the difference between a normal port and a Samsung one. As you can see, it has some metal tabs on the side. Normal ports don't have this. It has the shell, so it comes from the factory with the shell at least, so you don't need to be careful when you remove it. The SD card reader should have some double-sided tape, but it's not really necessary. Okay, so I'm going to show you the difference a little closer up. So I'm taking out a small port. And there is another main difference. It's that there are different types, different amounts of connectors on these ports. So you see size difference. It's wider with the metal tabs. Let's zoom in. Okay, so you see it's a 5-pin normally, but the Samsung one has 8 pins. Don't know why. It's not needed. USB only uses 5, and one is not connected normally. Okay, let's put it in. The only thing you need to reuse are the small screws that were on it. I'm making a small mistake here. Put it in the comments if you catch it. I'll rectify it later. Okay, so I'll put the port back in its place and start screwing it in. You see these small tabs? If you need to reuse the shield, you have to be very careful that they're in the right place. Let's screw in the port. It's a 00 crosshead screw bit. They're quite fiddly to work with, these small screws. Fortunately, my screwdriver is magnetic, so it helps a little bit. The SD card slot should have double-sided tape on it, but I don't have thin enough tape at home. It will stay in place when the shell is on, so it's really not necessary, but it makes assembly a lot easier if you have it. Do you spot the mistake? Okay, so I made another mistake here. You can see the battery is actually connected when I'm doing this kind of work. You shouldn't have the battery connected, just in case you short something. I was really careful, so there was no issue, but it's still a bad idea. I'm removing it now because I'm going to do a further repair on the on-off button, and live power is over there, so you have to be careful. There we go, the battery is out, and I noticed my mistake. Don't do this, you can damage the ribbon, and then you have all sorts of issues later on. It works fine, so didn't damage anything. These are just push connectors, and they just snap in. Now let's turn it around and start working on the button that's damaged. Unfortunately, you just can't get the small buttons. You have to buy the entire assembly, and that annoys me because these buttons are like 1 cent each at the maximum. But you need to buy entire assembly for around 5 euros. I'll show you the AliExpress listings. Okay, so the entire black part is the assembly. It comes with the headphone jack, a connector for the speaker, and the buttons. It has a few tabs to take it out. They are marked with small arrows. You have to pry it out with a screwdriver, and it takes quite a lot of force. But you need to remove the screws first from the headphone jack. Same size screws as before, 00 crosshead. Okay, I'm trying to pry it out first with some tweezers. There is some double-sided tape under the headphone slot as well. Just checking the PCB with the buttons on, see if it's also glued down with double-sided tape, and it is. You can use a small pick to take it out. Don't forget to remove the connection. I use a pretty big flat screwdriver to pry it out. Here's the replacement part. The screwdriver is actually really small. It's just, in comparison, it's really big. I'm trying to take out the board right now. The small PCB that holds the buttons. I'm using one of the picks that come with the screwdriver, and that seemed to do the trick. You really should replace the double-sided tape on this so they stay in place when you assemble, but I found that if you're careful enough, it works fine without it. There you can see the damaged button. One of the buttons dropped one of the membranes when I pulled it out. no big issue. I'm putting in a new one anyway. Okay, so I'm putting it in the same orientation it was. Make sure you put in the PCB for the buttons in its small slot on the side. It's kind of fiddly because there's a lot of parts to this that move. They're all flex cables around. Sorry for the bad camera angle. The tripod broke like you saw in my last video. So I'm just resting the phone on the side of the tripod to take this video. Okay, let's see. It's a little fiddly. If you have some patience, it will work out. Now, I'm going to try to push this down. It's really hard to make it snap in place. There are two clips you need to pull out whilst you push in the part. It snapped in. Still really fiddly. Just making sure it's on tightly. The clips are positioned here and here. Now snap on the connector. And we need the screws for the headphone jack. The shell is cracked on the headphone jack side, but that shouldn't affect the function of the headphone jack if you want to use it. I'm putting on the shell and snapping it in place. Just go around the entire tablet and just snap the connectors on. This is the part you need to be careful so you don't crack the screen. Just push with moderate force. If something's stuck, push around it instead and then go back to that same place. I had some issues near the USB port because the shell is cracked there. Unfortunately, I can't get better angle because of the tripod is broken. I'll be fixing it in a future video. Designing my own tripod holder for the cell phone. As you can see, it's cracked in the middle, but the USB port is in place. Let's test the buttons, and they click nicely. Volume buttons still work, perfect. The headphone jack is accessible. That's a nasty crack. Now let's try the tablet out. And it worked. The on-off button works fine. Let's just see if it boots up. Do you like my shirt? This is really hard to film while holding your phone. I really prefer the tripod instead. It takes a while to boot up. It's an old tablet. My girlfriend mainly uses it to play her Farmville style games. Let's try the charging port. It's hard to push it in with just one hand, so I let it go. But it does charge. Hope you enjoyed the video. This was a short one and no component level repair because there are essentially kits you can buy from AliExpress cheaply that do the job. This was like €7 repair. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like. Bye.